First of all, thank you so much for joining us. This is the last meetings that we had with His Excellency Mr. President, and we believe that this meeting, which lasted more than 3 hours, was very fruitful. And your question and your contribution was very special for us. And as you've been also praising up an important point about protection of the cultural heritage in the South Caucasus region. How do you vision what the situation is like, what's happening now in the region, and what's your evaluation?
Well, thank you very much, my dear friend, for inviting me to this discussion. And I would like to reiterate my sincere thanks and appreciation to His Excellency, the President, Mr. Ilham Aliyev, for the wonderful time he gave all those participants and the candid speech and answers that he presented regarding all the issues that were discussed. It was really very fruitful, very enriching. And in regard to the cultural heritage, as you know, there are a lot of activities that have been made by UNESCO and also during my time at ISESCO to enlist numerous cultural heritage sites in the two lists, the UNESCO list and the ISESCO list. In case some of those sites have been forgotten or neglected, we raised a lot of awareness among our member states, the 54 member states in ISESCO at that time, and it is still the same number of states. I mean, that it hasn't changed, to let us learn a lot about the cultural heritage sites that are in need of protection, of awareness, of reconstructing, and also renovation. At UNESCO, we had also a very genuine cooperation during the time of Federico Mayor, my dear friend, the former Director General, and after him, Koichiro Metsora. Also, he's a friend of us, friend of Azerbaijan, and we met a lot of times in Baku. And then with Madame Irina Bukova, who really was a very dear friend and a very concerned person about the cultural heritage. So the work between ISESCO and UNESCO grew and flourished and was very productive. My view from all of this right now, where I am now standing, I'm away from the involvement directly in the work of ISESCO or any other organization, except in NGIC, which I'm very proud of. I think there should be a lot of work to be done now to preserve and protect the sites, the cultural and heritage sites, not only that have suffered from wars, but also that the ones who are now suffering from natural changes, the climate change, the lack of protection, lack of funds to preserve them. And there should be a very sincere cooperation between the concerned agencies, not only UNESCO, ISESCO, and all these specialized institutions, but also from the World Bank, from the Islamic Development Bank, and from the African Development Bank. Those big institutions that have a lot of funds, they can channel some of those financial contributions to preserve and protect the cultural heritage sites everywhere. Through my review of UNESCO list, I found that only 4 sites in Azerbaijan that have been enlisted. And this is little, because Azerbaijan, as you know, and we know, all of us, has a lot of cultural heritage all over the country, not only those 4 sites. And I think there should be a lot of work within UNESCO, from the delegate of Azerbaijan and from the other friendly member states, to bring the attention of the UNESCO that Azerbaijan has many other cultural heritage sites that deserve to be enlisted and put under the protection laws and regulations of UNESCO. ISESCO now is doing its best, but I think with the current situation in the Islamic world, where we find wars and conflicts and animosities here and there, and also under the pressures of the corona pandemic, the work is not as we expected. It should go better than that. But anyway, they should work on the basis of what we have started long ago. Because at ISESCO, we have the World Islamic Cultural Heritage List. And I think there are almost 132 sites that have been registered, but that is little because UNESCO has more than 1,300 and something. So the Islamic world in general has a big reservoir of cultural heritage, not only the ancient ones, but also the ones that go before the well-known civilizations that were present in the world today. So this is how I look at it. I think there should be a big project supported by the financial institutions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdulaziz. Definitely, we can't compare leadership, because there is one thing that what we are missing now is lack of the leadership. Not in governments and also in international organizations. Your leadership in ISESCO and Federica Mayor Zaragoza, who is a good friend of mine also as well for many years. It was the people they could be this. You could be able to decide and to move on and to make a difference. But there was very interesting point that because we prepared a paper as NGIC, and there is claim from Azerbaijan and Armenian side that there is destroying a cultural heritage, which is we are calling it Albanian church, and Armenians say it's the Armenian church. But what was specifically important for us, the message of the President Aliyev that Azerbaijan is going to protect all the cultural heritage as it belongs to us. It has nothing to do with being Muslim or with being Christian, and that's thing that it was important. But we couldn't see reaction from UNESCO or even from ISESCO side as well. Yeah, I mean we had one visit from ISESCO, but it was not something that it could be able to coordinate or build a bridge between UNESCO and ISESCO's mission to create this kind of a project or a strategy, how to build up because Albanian church, as we know, they belongs many years, it's 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, and it's important that these institutions are in partnership doing this, but there is nothing is happening. And even our president's message, I read your article also. It was interesting that during this 30 years of the war with Armenia and Azerbaijan, there was no UNESCO present in the regions that it's been occupied in order to make a search or to evaluate the situation.
Yes, you are absolutely right. I think UNESCO was absent, and ISESCO at that time couldn't visit those occupied territories because of the Armenian blockade. I mean, they didn't allow ISESCO to go there during my time. But UNESCO could have done that because, Armenia is a member of UNESCO, and they could have forced, the government of Armenia to allow a delegation from UNESCO to visit the occupied territories and to see the mass destruction that took place and affected mosques, cultural heritage sites, and all the cultural history of that region. Even villages and towns were completely demolished. People deported from their homes, they immigrated to other places inside Azerbaijan or some other places, but this was not done. And now they should come to see the reality on the ground. The territories have been liberated, and the reality is there. If they are sincere and they want to show the world the truth, they could come and let the world know what is happening and what had happened in the occupied territory. So there will be no misconceptions, no falsifications, and no lies, because you cannot change the nature of the land. I mean, if you go there, you will see it. I mean, if Azerbaijan wants to change anything now, they cannot do it because it's a vast, land, and the change cannot take place in few days or few weeks. So they should go. Their hesitance and delayed visit to the liberated territories has no meaning. I mean, if the Director General of UNESCO, Madame Audrey Azoulay, gives an order to the committee, they will go to see what is happening there. I mean, it's a simple thing. But for us, during my time at ISESCO, we couldn't go there because the Armenians will not let us, and they didn't let us. But now I know that the Director General of ISESCO went with a delegation a few months ago, and maybe 2 months ago or so. But what is after that? I mean, they should come up with a master plan that is supported by the Islamic Development Bank and OIC to participate in the reconstructing and reunification and remodeling and all the artistical work that should be done there to bring those land sites to their original position. This is not happening, unfortunately. But I will go back and talk about the lies of Armenia that the Azeri government or the Azeri officials gave orders to destroy the cultural heritage of Armenia This is nonsense, because what was destroyed in Nagorno-Karabakh were the mosques, the Islamic heritage, the Azeri heritage, and not anything else. I visited Azerbaijan many times, and I saw how the government, the president himself, and the first lady, the vice president, and the government of Azerbaijan, and the people of Azerbaijan, how they respected the religious diversity. There were synagogues, mosques, churches, everything, and they were preserved and protected by law. And I saw those churches and synagogues that were reconstructed or brought back to their normal position. This is something that they cannot deny, they cannot hide. It is there. But what is happening now if the UNESCO delegation goes to the liberated territory in Nagorno-Karabakh? They will find a destroyed mosque. Everybody saw that in TV. I mean, I saw it in YouTube. The president visited some of those, demolished places. Mosques were turned into pigs' ranches and cows' ranches. I mean, they didn't even respect the sanctity and the holiness of the religious places, the mosques and the religious sites in Nagorno-Karabakh. So these lies cannot stand in front of truth. So what UNESCO should do now is to send a delegation. We don't want, and Azerbaijan doesn't want, this delegation to be favoring Azerbaijan. We want them to favor truth and to see what is happening there and to report this to the General Conference and the Executive Council of UNESCO so the world will know the reality.
Of course, I mean, definitely. Thank you so much for your opinion, Dr. Abdulaziz, and you've been very correct on that. After visiting liberated territories, like what we see on TV stations, how mosques and historical, because the Karabakh is the heart of Azerbaijan's culture, and all the most famous poets and composers been raised up in Karabakh. And to see, how the city being destroyed, there is no buildings, and the mosques are used as for farm issues, and that's really terrible. I have to say, I'm coming from my own experience. I used to, first time I raised up in Azerbaijan, I am a Muslim, but I traveled and I lived in Greece, in France, in the US, and in many other places in Spain. And I never had, in my mentality, if you wanted to pray to God, you can't go to church. I was praying in the church in Greece, in the heart of the center of Athens, because, it's a place for Allah, whatever name we are calling him, but it is something that, we share the same spiritual power. And that's what is upsetting, that, we are trying, and also something you feel some people are trying to use it as a propaganda for basing on religious base. like, dividing people, which is really very disastrous, because what we see with the COVID-19, that the world is so changed, and there is no, like, any more borders, and no one is safer, and everyone has to communicate. And if you don't communicate with your neighbor, it's going to be a disastrous situation. And that was like what our president during the conference mentioned several times. In a crisis period, Azerbaijan was providing gas and oil and other resources to the Armenian people. For the last question, Dr. Abdulaziz, we've been, like, discussing with Dr. Ismail, your good friend, and some other people about what we can do. And the idea came up, like, to bring up not only UNESCO, because literally we don't see UNESCO being involved, but to bring a Center for World Heritage, the Getty, ISESCO, the World Monuments Fund, ICOMOS, the Al-Khan Trust Foundation, and the Smithsonian, and the Guggenheim Museum and Foundation, and other international institutions which has also a capacity. Like, UNESCO is good, but the world is not turning around to UNESCO. I mean, Guggenheim's or Metropolitan Museum's viewers and visitors, and the budget is bigger than, like, equally to this institution. In order, like, they have an experts as well. And these experts can be also not to be depending on one or two person, but to have many other institutions, many other experts to be engaged with us.
That's true. I mean, I'm very sorry to say that, but this is the reality. I mean, UNESCO now is in the hands of the French government. I mean, and the French government is under the influence of the big and strong Armenian lobby in France. And the Minister of Interior is also from an Armenian origin. So I think UNESCO is losing its track. It is not the same UNESCO that we used to know. The Director General of UNESCO should be impartial, should be for all countries, for all cultures, for all religions, for all languages. I mean, there should be no siding here or there. They should go for the truth only. But this is not happening. I don't know anything now about them. But this reality that it is not the same UNESCO that I used to know. UNESCO at the time of Mayor, Metsora, of Irina Bokova, it was a different institution. Now it is something else. But I think the suggestions that you have just mentioned, and my dear friend, our co-chair, Mr. Ismail Sirajuddin, also is supporting, is wonderful. We could invite all these, institutions and let them come and see. And also, I also gave a suggestion during the meeting with His Excellency the President that we should form a delegation from NGIC, because NGIC is composed of different personalities from different countries, former presidents, former prime ministers, former foreign ministers, and different high ranking officials. We could make a delegation composed of those different personalities to visit also the liberated territories and to make a report. And this report could be distributed and sent to all the international institutions, to the UN, to the European Union, to the African Union, to the OIC, to the ASEAN, and to all the important institutions in the world, to show the world that, this is the reality. And we are ready for that. And I think it's a very sound idea. And I think NGIC now as a very important platform and an important institution, cultural and civilizational institution is well respected, because we are not really against any country. We are not against Armenia, this, that. We are for truth, for human cooperation, for mutual respect among the people of the world, because we are all human beings. We live on the same planet, and we share many things. And we cannot let this world go in the hands of the crazy and idiot people to destroy it and destroy all the people of the world because of their sanity and ill-minded choices. So I think this is a very sound idea. We could do it, and I'm very sure that you, as the Secretary General and the co-chair, will support this, and it will help. It will help a great deal. Also, I have another suggestion. Why don't we also make interviews with the major TV stations and the major newspapers in the world, in America, in Europe, in many other parts of the world, to write articles and to show, our ideas and our views on TVs, on different, opportunities, because we cannot let one side give what it thinks is the truth and deceives people. I think we should also give the other side of the picture, so people, able to analyze and reach the truth by themselves. This is something very important, and by the, elite group that NGIC has, former presidents, former prime ministers, former foreign ministers, and former, secretary generals of international and regional institutions. I think we can do something like that.
Definitely. We are counting on your support and on your experience and on your wisdom and on your guidance as well. And thank you so much for your time.
I'll be very pleased and honored, my dear friend, to participate in such an endeavor.
It's a great and a pleasure to have you as always. And thank you so much for joining us. And we can't wait to see you, in live in Baku, or to